Hello, found footage fans, and welcome to We Found a Tape. We're a podcast dedicated to all things found footage, shaky cams, paranormal sightings, and everything with an authentic edge to make it all feel real. My name is John.
And my name is David.
And join us as we hit play and uncover what lies beyond the tape. Truly, what is a found footage movie? So a found footage film is a cinematic technique which some or all of the narrative for a film is shot and presented in a way as if the recordings were non-fictional events that have been discovered and relayed to the audience with little to no mediation. Found footage can be considered many things: mockumentary, screen life, news coverage, and that's what we're going to talk about.
And I think it's important, of course, we say a little thing about, each different style of found footage, so being that we're going to be talking about them, I think the first one we should just kind of briefly talk about is mockumentary, right?
For sure.
So mockumentary basically is kind of like finding of footage and exploration for the truth. So that's kind of like in a nutshell what a mockumentary is.
And a great example of that is the Blair Witch Project. I think it's one that really is they're setting out to find the truth and unsolve this mystery. Another style of it is portrayed as if it's a police investigation into a crime. There's been a number of movies that I've seen where they talk about, or they show the the federal or the police introduction at the beginning, to act as if this is evidence that's been cut together for the purposes of a courtroom or legal proceedings. So you're really dialed into the fact that is a true and authentic piece of material. It doesn't always come across that way, but it's a great way to pull the audience in, and it usually is raw or with hard cuts from a camera, like a VHS camera and stuff.
Oh, what was that movie that had it was Savage Land, where they were showing like actual news coverage. So for instance, if what's happening in the world before they tell you kind of like what's happening, there's all this news coverage where leading up to the events of what's happening. So it's like actual news coverage. Another style of found footage is screen life. So basically a story that's told through computer, tablet, or cell phone device is more commonly used nowadays. But it's a good example of past movies like The Host, for example. That one is told through like a Zoom meeting, right? Everybody's on the Zoom meeting. And
another great one that I really love is the Collingswood story. It's very early 90s internet days, or late 90s, early 2000s internet days. So old chat rooms and stuff like that. And then, of course, Unfriended is another great screen life one. And similar to what you pointed out earlier with Savage Land, David, the news coverage is definitely one that's a great example of found footage as well. This is a mix of interviews and videotape, recorded footage of events that have happened.
Right.
One example that comes to mind of that is the second Hell House. A lot of that, there's like a TV show that's sort of showcasing some incidents that happened following the initial Hell House movie, the situation surrounding Hell House. So it shows it implores a lot of these techniques to show, screen recordings from cell phone devices and live streams and stuff of people going into the hotel, which was really profound.
Another one that we want to mention here is a hybrid. So of course it's a shot from a mix of different found material and outside look in a cinematic matter. So kind of piggybacking off what you were saying, that Hell House 2 kind of does that too, where it's kind of a mix of everything of found material and then looking from the outside.
for sure.
inwards, basically.
Yeah. And another good example of that is Behind the Mask, the rise of Leslie Vernon. It's like a good portion of the start of the movie is sort of them, filming their documentary, and then the end is very cinematic sequence of like you're seeing it from the outside in, which I think is a great technique. It doesn't take itself too seriously either. So you're seeing it through their eyes, but then you can also see it from your own eyes as well, which is pretty cool.
Right.
Another great technique that's used for found footage is the surveillance camera. That is usually static camera with night occurrences. So usually in paranormal type movies where they're trying to capture a ghost or an intruder or someone who is tormenting them. And of course, the most famous of that is Paranormal Activity, where he sets up stationary cams throughout the entire house to try and catch the entity that's coming after them.
Paranormal Activity movie, I think, for me, it really put the whole paranormal style. Well, it's not so much a style, but just paranormal found footage really out there, because of course, you had Blair Witch that really skyrocketed things, because really you didn't hear too much about found footage after Cannibal Holocaust and that one came out. And then you've had some found footage movies that came out, and it wasn't really a big stir in the found footage genre until Paranormal Activity came out and kind of gave it like a new life again.
Yeah,
I would say, because it was just a whole new thing, and it was amazing how much money they made on it on such a low budget, but they did so well on a small budget. And you see that a lot on found footage movies. They're not really big budget movies, and I think that's what makes them really special, because with found footage, there's not a lot. You're doing something grand with what you have to work with. It's not some big budget where you can use CGI and all this bullshit in between. I think it's just really a lot of practical stuff and just using your imagination and what you got around you, and that's really, to me, that's really something with found footage.
For sure, it really sets it into the ground. Like you feel like you're able to see these types of movies and experience them outside of the sort of modern day or cinematic Hollywood budget movies. Those are generally a ton of CGI, but a lot of the found footage style is incorporated into big budget movies, Hollywood movies. We've seen the likes of Cloverfield and Chronicle are two examples that come to mind. Those had big names in them. They were big budget movies released by big companies, which ended up doing really well. And I think Paranormal Activity is a huge example of what pushed that into the mainstream media because of how successful it was.
Did you ever see End of Watch?
I didn't, but I know what you're talking about with Jake Gyllenhaal.
Yeah.
Yes, I've not seen it, but
and I would think that one would be a considered a big budget movie because of the actors that they had to pay. Because Michael Pena and Jake Gyllenhaal are pretty well known actors, especially Jake Gyllenhaal. I mean, he's been in some shit, but even Michael Pena too. He's out there too. So I would consider that a big budget just because I'm sure they had to pay them quite a bit to be in it.
For sure.
But yeah, that was a good one because most of it was body cam footage.
Right.
So from the body cam perspective, yeah. Sometimes when they're on scene, they're from a camera perspective, somebody filming it, but a lot of it was body cam footage because of whenever they're entering into a residence and they're looking for something or whatever the case may be, that it's that perspective of found footage. But that's a good one to mention as far as what I think would be a big budget found footage movie that I don't think a lot of people have probably seen, even though it's out there.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. You can make a found footage on your cell phone nowadays with the power that they have, And seeing some of these older ones, like some of them, they don't stand the test of time, but a lot of them really do. And I've heard people say that they don't find the Blair Witch scary, and at the time it was like truly horrific for people to see this footage and not believe that it was real. The early days of the internet were a huge part to play in that, and they were able to successfully use the media, the society at the time that were able to showcase this particular this movie, and it was grassroots, word of mouth type thing. Early days of torrent sites and all that, where people were sharing movies for free, and I think they really honed in on that. So it was a great marketing tool for them. But yeah, found footage is always been a genre that me personally I've very much enjoyed seeking out movies, whether that's really great ones that have surprised me, or really bad ones that have also surprised me how bad they are. Some there's also I see them and I don't see what other people see, so it's really something you can put your own spin onto. And one that sticks out to me that I particularly didn't like, that a lot of people do tend to like a lot, is Lake Mungo. We spoke about this before, but I didn't quite buy into it. There were some cool aspects of it, and like from a filming perspective, yeah, it was cool, but that wasn't for me.
Yeah, and I've seen my fair share of found footage where I wish I could get that time back, but I couldn't. I can't get it back. So yeah, I mean there's definitely a few out there that are not winners, but it expands the genre. It even though we didn't enjoy those certain ones, because it's definitely a genre of horror, or just film in general, that is expanding as the years go on, because it's made quite a dent with some movies in the last decade alone, as far as titles that you can go out there and watch. And a lot of the free streaming sites like Tubi or Plex, things like that, have a lot of these found footage movies that are easy to access, because it's free content. So it's pretty cool to watch.
Another great streaming service that we've both partaken in is the Found TV, which is a relatively new streaming service that solely shows found footage movies. And for me personally, I think that's fantastic. It's an easy source for viewing content. A lot of them are between 40 minutes to an hour 30. The good thing about them is you can watch quite a number of them fairly quickly, which I found myself doing on weekends from time to time, where I'll just put one on after the other, and by the time I know it's 10 o'clock at night. But yeah, it's just an impactful genre. It's broken through the Hollywood norms and made it to the mainstream while still remaining underground. Like the vast majority of these found footage style movies, like they never see a movie theater. They always tend to stay on an online platform, which I think helps the movie more than hinders it. It's mostly you never really know what you're going to get. It's a flip of a coin. You can either
Right.
come away from a movie thinking, damn, that was really good and I was really thoroughly entertained, or you're like, holy, I'm never going to watch this again in my life. Where do I get a refund for that time that I spent watching this piece of trash? But they can't all be winners, and most of them are losses. But it's the process of making that from a filmmaker perspective. It's really a way to get your foot in the door that could lead to something more in the future, which is a fantastic way of thinking of it.
Absolutely. And I think another good platform to mention too is YouTube. A lot of these filmmakers or even amateur filmmakers put a lot of content on YouTube. Even if it's not found footage, there's how-to videos and everything like that. But going back to found footage, there's a good number out there. If you look on YouTube, you even find some of these movies that people have found to upload on YouTube as well. Some that don't even have any kind of like copyright restrictions or anything like that, where they can freely put it on there. And then some, of course, that are made by themselves. um, that they filmed. So yeah, YouTube is a good place to find found footage as well, even if it's 15 minutes, 30 minutes, an hour. Um, it's all found footage.
Yeah, no, that's a really great point. I have definitely found some gems on YouTube as well. From sometimes you'll scroll through Tubi or you'll scroll through other streaming services and you kind of feel I don't really know if I'm mood for that, and it's great to know that you can just search on YouTube, found footage horror, and a ton come up that you would never see elsewhere. So the market for these types of movies, although it's fairly saturated, um,
Yeah.
it's definitely alive and well, and some of these are getting crazy views. I know one of the most recent ones, Milk and Cereal, from 2023 or 24. That was one that really garnered a lot of attention. It was a YouTube channel that they dabbled in some horror content, but it really got a widespread positive reception from a lot of people. And I mean, again, it's another way to put a stepping stone on your path to making different content, greater content, better content, and the access and means to be able to do that. So this is exactly what we made this podcast about, is to celebrate that as a genre, to celebrate some of these movies.
Yeah.
And our main focus is really to bring some of these movies to light, showcase the good, the bad, the ugly, the really, really ugly.
Maybe give you a suggestion or two on some shocking found footage movies that are out there that you may have never seen before, that might be right up your alley, whether it's creature feature, paranormal, anything, aliens even. There's even found footage movies out there in aliens too, if you're an alien fanatic like I am. So
Exactly.
yeah, I mean, there's in found footage, I think there's a little bit of everything, a little bit of something for everyone. I think it's also worth mentioning too that I think we should give everyone that's listening a little taste of some of our favorites.
I agree.
Just to kind of give them a little taste of things that we've seen that have impacted us a little bit. That gave us the love for found footage. So some of my favorites, to be honest with you, and I think this one is at the tippy top of the list just because when I first saw it, it freaked me out. Like I don't know if it was just a mixture of everything, but the claustrophobia of it, the story setting, things like that. As Above, So Below is probably my favorite. These people go down into the catacombs in France. Those catacombs that you see on TikTok or whatever that have all the skulls and the bones and all that stuff. It's those catacombs, and they go on a kind of like a quest adventure. They're looking for something, and they find a lot more than what they're looking for. Piggybacking off of that, some of the other ones to mention, of course, was Hell House. I think a lot of people's favorite is Hell House, but Area 51, that's an alien one. So, like I said, if you're into aliens, that's a good found footage movie to see as far as aliens go. The VHS movies. I mean, what else do I have to say? If you've seen found footage before and you've not seen a VHS movie, then you're seriously slacking. But VHS movies, that's another good one. Jerusalem was another good one for me. That one kind of creeped me out, and it's got some end of the world type feels to it. So and a lot of these movies that I mentioned too, like demons or creatures, things like that, those are movies that I like too, like creature features, demonic possessions, things like that. So a lot of those are in these movies that are like very near and dear to my heart. So those are some of my favorites.
Amazing.
I think so. Yeah. So I mean, those are good ones. John, what about you? What are some of your favorites?
Me personally, there's a lot of parallels between you and I, David, in terms of what we like. One of my all-time favorites has to be Hell House. It's just so well made. It's so scary to watch. I've showed so many people this movie. I've watched it countless times. I've watched the director's cut. I'm waiting for the special edition to come in, which I ordered from Australia through Umbrella. That's that's how much I love this movie. The whole franchise, I really do appreciate it, but the first one is truly like one of the best found footage style movies I've ever seen in my life.
First time I saw it, scared the shit out.
Oh yeah, those clowns are so creepy.
Yeah.
They've had special nights at the Abaddon Hotel. I'm dying to go one of these times, so that'll be something in the future. One of the first found footage, or it is the first found footage movie I saw in theater, was Paranormal Activity. I saw it, you know, opening week. Might not have been opening night, but I saw it when I was in Scotland. It was so terrifying at the time, in a theater, because it's so loud, and seeing what's happening. That was one that just truly to me was so good, and I definitely was all in on it. I'm so glad that it was as successful as what it was, because it truly deserves it for what it was made for, to what it grossed is just a feat in itself. Like,
Yeah.
Hollywood budgets nowadays are in the billions for some of these Marvel movies, and this was 0.001% of that. That would be up there as one of my all-time favorites. And another one that I really loved, was also a VHS movie, specifically VHS 99. I'm a 90s kid, so I loved everything about it. The feeling of it from back in 1999, like, it took me back there, which was pretty cool. It was just such a great. I loved every single part of it, and with the VHS movies, for anyone that doesn't know, and it's an anthology style where it's as if you found a tape, and there's multiple stories showing different aspects. They're split up by different directors who are making each segment. For this one in particular, I loved every single one of them, and that was, for me, up until that point, was rare for the VHS movies, because a lot of them were very disjointed and sort of took you out of it, threw you back in, and there's a lot of foreign language ones that are mixed into it. But this one, like, truly felt like a VHS, as if I found a tape and I put it in and watched it from front to back. Yeah. It felt like that, and everything was stylized the same, everything felt the same, and there was a synergy that really stands out for me in that one. For me, is the best one.
Just to make sure I'm thinking of the right one. That's the one with the Hell World, right, at the end.
Yes. Yep.
Yeah. Okay. And I think out of the entire anthology for '99, I think that one was my favorite one out of the whole thing. But yeah, I think with VHS in general, either if you've seen the first one, Viral, '99. Beyond, anything like that, a lot of it is finding a tape with a story on it, and essentially that's what found footage is.
Another one, I mean, you can't, for me, I can't say that it's not in my top 5 of all time, is Blair Witch Project. Like, for me, just the way that is, although it may not be in today's standards, your typical scary movie, like, it's just the way that the story, the backstory behind it, the way it was shot, the cast, the way that they handled everything, like, knowing everything now, and the marketing campaign behind it, just everything, like, just resonated so well. I think Heather Donahue, it is one of the most iconic scenes in film history, is when she's front facing camera, apologizing and wishing all the best to her family, and she's crying, and so intense and so, like, heartfelt. Like, it skyrocketed this genre after, as well. Like, Cannibal Holocaust, we say, is the first. Blair Witch Project was the standard almost, and then Paranormal Activity was taking it to the next level. And I think it's like a true progression in terms of those three are the most iconic. And then another one that I feel it's truly one of my favorites, although it's not what I tend to watch too often. I just found it so impactful, was Host. The fact that it was filmed during COVID, the fact that it was filmed to the specifications of a Zoom free trial, which was what was it, like 40 minutes, 60 minutes, like whatever the limit was for a Zoom free trial, so these people could connect and do something during the pandemic. In the UK, when everything was locked down, they were running around, and you felt as if you were part of this conversation. And the scariest part is, if you look at this on a laptop, if you watch on a TV, like it feels like you've screencast your iPad to your TV and you're watching it through that. But if you watch on a laptop, you almost feel as if you're part of it, and that's what was so impactful for it. And the stuff they did, the effects they did, like it was scary.
That's really taking something from nothing and making it something, because to make it like as part of the pandemic where people couldn't go out and regularly socialize with each other because of lockdown, depending on where you were at, things like that, wearing masks. That played heavily in that movie, and gave it those restrictions to make it what it was, because they couldn't be around each other. It was on a Zoom call, but like you said, it's exactly perfectly like a Zoom window, and it's like if you're part of the Zoom, but you just can't interact or say anything. You're just like spectating and just watching all this happen.
Yeah, that's what really entertained me, actually, is the fact that you feel like you're part of it. You're like look around you, like they were using some of the techniques and that you can do on a Zoom call. You can like pre-record a background and like put it in, and then like while this is happening, like there's like a face filter and it's like moving.
Right.
It was just so well done.
Yeah.
And in terms of the filming of it, they ultimately recorded everyone basically with like an iPhone to make that the quality kind of crappy. There's a picture of it online somewhere. It's this crazy rig that they used, and it's basically front facing towards them. They recorded it like that, and then they spliced it together. They edited it after the fact so that it looked like a Zoom call. They used the Zoom overlay and all the buttons and stuff, but they basically filmed them all separate, all doing their lines, and cut it as if it was a presentation of a Zoom conversation that was happening in real time, and you can't tell. Like, it's insane. It's just so smart, really impactful. 90% on Rotten Tomatoes when it came out. Like, it was just so good. Like, I would put it up there as one of my top 5 for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. That one's worth mentioning. And some of these movies, it's really hard to put in your top 5 or top 10, because there's a fair amount of them out there that are really good and worth mentioning. And I think it's also worth mentioning too. Before we began recording this episode, I was watching a documentary that's on found footage. It came out in 2021. It's called The Found Footage Phenomenon. If you have a Shudder account, I believe AMC Plus even has it too as well, because they have like an agreement with Shudder.
Yeah.
But that's really good. A really good documentary that I enjoyed, because it's really good hearing from the director's perspective on what led them to make these movies that they made, or films, and who inspired them. A lot of them will say that Blair Witch inspired them, or even one that I've never seen before that's called Ghostwatch. It came out sometime in the 90s, I think. I've never seen it before, and now I want to go see it because I've never heard of it until I saw this documentary. So, I mean, there's even still some found footage out there that I've not even heard of or seen that are probably older. Even it goes back to say that, even though Cannibal Holocaust might have put found footage as a genre on the map, found footage has been around for a long time. As back to black and white movies, that found footage has been happening. So it's really a good documentary to watch if you're getting into found footage, or you're into it, you've never seen it. I think it's worth a watch.
There's so many found footage movies that I've really seen that I've been surprised with and thoroughly enjoyed. Some I've watched 10 times over and never get sick of it. Hell House, Blair Witch, and there's bad ones. Don't get me wrong.
I think it's worth mentioning at least a couple that weren't such great movies. I know you mentioned one earlier, that that the Lake Mungo wasn't one that was on your tippy top of the list. It's towards the bottom. One that I didn't enjoy, it actually came out this past year, maybe the year before. It was that one where she was like an Uber driver, and it was all shot on her phone.
Dash cam.
I can't remember the name of it. Dash cam, that's what it was. God damn it, that movie pissed me off.
Yeah.
There's not many people that you see in a movie that you just want to punch right in the face, and that one was definitely one. So I mean,
which is interesting. One of the guys that made Host also made Dashcam, which is quite interesting. I know it's on a lot of people's low list of these types of movies. I can definitely see where where a lot of people didn't like it. I guess there's some kind of charm in it for me. I don't necessarily hate it. It's not my favorite. I don't think it's that good.
I think it would have been a pretty decent movie if that character wasn't in it for
Yeah.
me. She was so annoying, man.
Yeah.
She was so annoying.
Yeah, when I saw recently Hinsdale House, not a fan at all. There's another one called The Outwaters, I think is what it's called, and it's one of the
I think I know what you're talking about.
it's one of the most pretentious fucking movies I've ever seen in my life. Most of it you can't even see because it's just pitch black. So strange. It's so bad. It's so long. Like found footage movies should not be like close to 2 hours or over 2 hours. Like I just felt like I was having like an outer body experience. Like it truly was just not good at all.
And I think even in the found footage genre as well, there's even some comedy in it too. What We Do in the Shadows is another good one. If you haven't seen that one, it's good enough to where they have a spin-off TV show with a few seasons to it already. That I think the last season just came out this past year, but that is a great found footage movie.
Yeah, it's good. Another good one that I've now seen it a couple of times. Deadstream. It's a good one on Shudder, and it's like it follows this guy who does like challenges. Like he live streams himself doing challenges, and he goes through a bit of controversy. So he's trying to win his audience back. And I didn't know this at the time, but they're the couple that made the Hell World VHS 99 segment. They made this movie Deadstream. I love that. I thought it was really, really enjoyable and fun. So, that's kind of one of the main reasons why we started this podcast, was really just to talk about some of these movies that may not get the time of day. Also speak about ones that got too much time of day that need to go in the trash. But that's kind of what our plan is, to dive into movies that we've never seen before, and collectively come together and talk about them. Another really cool thing we're going to do is every few episodes we're going to pick a random movie from Found TV, the dedicated found footage streaming service, and we're going to spin a wheel and we're going to find some random movies that we've never seen before. I'll pick some, David will pick some. We'll spin a wheel and we'll figure out what's going to be a random movie. We'll watch it, we'll take notes, and then we'll come back, we'll reconvene, and we'll discuss it. So we're going to have a dedicated rating system based on, a 5-star rating system, where we're going to give each movie a rating. Out of 5, it's going to be tapes. So we're going to give it, 1 tape, 2 tape, 3 tape, 4 tape, 5 tape. I think it's going to be rare for us to find a 5, but you never know.
You never know. There could be a gem out there.
There could be. And then the final, and probably maybe not as rare as a 5, but the flaming tape, the burning tape that you just want to throw in the trash and set on fire, knowing fine well that tape back in the day, if you did set it on fire, it would light a blaze fairly quickly, and it was easily flammable. So that's one of those. There's going to be some cases where we'll have one of those. So.
Hey guys, that's all from us here today at We Found a Tape. Be sure to follow us on our socials at We Found a Tape and subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts. Tune in next time to see what tape we find next. And remember, be kind and rewind.